The Marvels has officially released in theaters, so let's talk about it.
Who's a good kitty goose?
Hey friends, welcome to the Disney Pastor. I'm your host Tim, and I talk all things Disney, which includes Marvel. Let me know your thoughts on the film down in the comments below. FYI, there are spoilers for this movie, including the post-credit scene. So if you don't want to be spoiled for this one, go away. Now is your chance to do that. Without further ado, we're going to talk about the good, the average, and the bad. I'll give you my thoughts and my final ranking. Let's jump in.
That's good.
One of the easy parts to like about this movie is Iman Vellani does a fantastic job once again with Kamala Khan. She's definitely one of the better characters inside this movie, and I know she's not for everybody, right? Some people don't like the over-exuberant teenage-esque stuff going on here, but I think she does a fantastic job. She really was a great casting. The other thing I will say is this is a bit funnier. Now, I know a lot of us who've watched the MCU over the past few years have been a little burnt out by the humor. Some of it has not landed as well, fell over the top. Some of it just does not fit with the villains. If you know, you know. But with that being said, I think it honestly fits pretty well with this film. I don't think they went over the top or felt like it made the movie any worse. In fact, I think it helped it a little bit. The other thing I will say is this: I think casting wise, all three of our leading ladies did a really solid job. I did highlight Iman Vellani. Brie Larson, I think, was better in this one than the original Captain Marvel. And then, of course, seeing Monica Rambeau again is always cool. And of course, one of the best parts of the movie, and this is not by any means saying that the movie was horrible or anything, and we get introduced to our first ever appearance, Beast. I may have been the only one in the theater who got really excited about that. It was cool to see this. I'm very interested to see where this goes and how they expand it in the future, but it was a good setup for wherever it is they're going. I don't know specifically. My assumption would be Deadpool 3, but who knows?
Something good, something bad, a bit of both.
There are a few things that I think were done okay here. One of those being was the runtime. This is the shortest MCU movie, clocking in at about an hour and 45 minutes. And it did good, I think, pacing-wise for the most part. I think it could have been a little bit longer to add a little more kind of rest moments, because it felt very, very quick, very, very punchy. But I think what you could have done is given a few of those so-called emotional moments a little bit of time to draw out, allowing us as the audience to kind of sit in those moments. One of the unique items they tried in this movie was a singing planet. And on paper, this sounds interesting and unique. And I like the fact that they tried something new with this. At the same time, the execution is about what you'd expect from this sort of thing. I'll say this: it wasn't horrible by any means, but it definitely wasn't ideal. It was definitely weird. One of the unique item pieces with this story in particular was the sort of drama between Danvers and Rambeau. We know Carol Danvers never came back to see Monica in her childhood at all. And so Monica definitely had some bitterness and holding on to. And so you had this sort of tension that was there, that was going to be a part of this movie. And I wouldn't say they dropped the ball on it. They had a few moments here and there where they highlighted it and they confronted it a little bit. And some of those moments were done, I think, quite well. But overall, I felt like they didn't do maybe as much or as direct as I thought they would. Letting us sit in some of those moments a little bit longer, I think it would have helped it, especially towards the end of the sort of conflict, because it really didn't feel like a resolution.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
One thing I did hear from a few people and their out of theater reactions to this movie was it felt kind of like a third movie, and I totally see where they're coming from with this. There is definitely, I think, a story missing in between Captain Marvel and the Marvels that I think would have probably worked a little better for the Marvel's favor if it was made. There are a lot of flashbacks and going back to this conflict of Captain Marvel saying, I'm coming to end it. And it seemed triumphant in Captain Marvel and seemed to set up a sequel, which I think would have been smart leading into this movie. But because it was kind of just, in a sense, thrown in there to help give our villain more backstory, I don't think it worked as well as it was hoped for. Again, I think it would have been smart for Marvel to release a sequel to Captain Marvel to help kind of bridge that sort of gap, taking us alongside the Skrulls as they're trying to find their home, some of them, and of course from there also seeing her take down the Supreme Intelligence. Some of those things I think would have worked pretty well for a sequel film. One of the other things that was noticeable, and part of this was because of how Secret Invasion turned out, was Nick Fury felt really out of place here. It's not to say like Nick Fury was terrible. I prefer this version of Nick Fury compared to the Ecclesiastes, woe is me, depressed Nick Fury that we saw in Secret Invasion. It just felt weird going from that to Phase 1, Phase 2, cheerful Captain Marvel Nick Fury. What's sad about it is like many of us, and I say us, and part of it is me, was hoping that the Marvels would help make Secret Invasion better. I think this just made it worse. To be honest, and it doesn't help any of what was set up there. The other thing I will say is they may have went a little too over the top with the whole Flurkin thing. It was funny and done very well in Captain Marvel, and yes, I understand the premise of like how they went about escaping everybody from Saber, and I thought it was done pretty well. I think they dragged on it a little too much. They're trying to make me like cats, and that's not going to happen. Okay, it's kind of worked a little bit. One of the other parts I wasn't a big fan of is the villain. I don't even know her name, okay? I don't think it was even mentioned in the movie. If so, I completely forgot it. Like, adding the backstory was neat. I understand it. It made sense, helped it out a bit, but she really didn't do too much for me. Overall, this movie was pretty good for, what it was. Granted, I had low expectations going into this. I do prefer the Marvels over Captain Marvel as a movie. I think there are a few things with the Marvels that worked better than Captain Marvel. A lot of that, I think, comes with more emotions in this side than in that side. There are a few things I definitely think could have been done better. But overall, it was a pretty decent entry into the MCU. Overall, I give it a 6.1 out of 10 and a fun factor of a D+. Like I said, it's pretty good. It's not great. It's not one of the better movies of the MCU. I'd say it's below the middle of the pack, but it's not a terrible, horrible movie by any means. But that being said, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. Let me know again your thoughts down in the comments below. I would love to hear it. Feel free to spoiler away. Just put a spoiler warning on the top of your comment. And of course, if you're new around here, hey, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Be sure to subscribe down below and hit the bell to be notified for more videos just like this one. I will see you all in the next one, which will be for Loki Season 2. Oh boy. It's going to be awesome. See you all in the next one. Goodbye.